All right, we're live. Another episode of Ladies Night. What's up, Moff? Hello, ladies. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Moff, you want to do the traditional intro? Let everybody know who's all here and what's up?
Yeah, for sure. Ladies, thanks for joining tonight. Appreciate you being here. What we typically like to do at the start of the show is just have everybody go around and just say name, age, relationship status, and then essentially what made you want to come on the show tonight or why you agreed to come on. And let's just start with Mandy.
I'm 23 from Los Angeles. I think that's if you ask. I'm full-time OnlyFans model / streamer, and I am in a situationship, but let's just say that I'm not single.
Okay.
All right. Danica?
I'm 34 from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I'm a full-time nurse, and I'm single right now. And I joined the show because I align with a lot of the values that you guys talk about on the show, so I figured it would be interesting to be a part of the live show.
Cool.
And Angie, round us off.
I'm 33 from Sydney, Australia. I'm a full-time girlfriend. Yeah, that's it.
And why did you want to come on the show?
Just for a chat.
Okay. And you don't work, you don't have a job, you're not in school or anything?
So I have a side business because my family owns a factory in Indonesia doing clothing. So on the side, I'm doing importing clothes from Indonesia for uniform.
Oh, okay. Family business. All right. I think, Moff, you said it was Angie that had been watching my content, found some use in it in her relationship. Was it? Did I get that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's start with that, Ange. So what about my content did you find useful and helpful in your own relationship?
I think it's more like self-awareness and acceptance. Like I read your book and I went through like the red flags and like what normally women do to men, and understanding myself and accepting that sometimes I could be crazy, and accepting that and then manage my reaction if that happens, if that makes sense.
Do you have any red flags that you identified with when you first read it? Anything that really jumped out to you out of those 20?
I have a tattoo, but it's really because I used to really like Megan Fox, and I thought she's got a tattoo, so I wanted to have one. So I don't know if that's a red flag, but
Do you have any regrets getting the tattoo mimicking Megan Fox?
I didn't really care about it. I don't really look at it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's never a problem really in my life, I guess. And normally it's covered. Like I don't always wear like short sleeves. So.
Okay. You said something along the lines of coming to acceptance. I really like using the word, surrendering to certain, like realities that exist between men and women and, the world sort of thing like that. What exactly did you have to accept or surrender to?
Like how the world actually is. Like, let me give you an example. Like, for example, us women, sometimes we are a jealous creature, and instead of going like, oh, I'm not jealous, I'm like, you know what? I am. So what am I going to do about it? And when that happens, how can my reaction help me with the situation, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Just be more aware of the reality. Be more in touch with reality, I guess.
Was there something that you were doing before that wasn't serving you that you had to like sort of drop or surrender to or leave behind, and you modified that behavior, or was it just like an understanding thing for you?
I think more like controlling my reaction when, your feelings take over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think we women, we are more emotional creatures. So we often react based on our emotion instead of thinking, what's the objective here? Like, how can I actually fix this problem so it doesn't happen again? Like, and to do that, I think you have to be quite in touch with reality. You got to know what's going on exactly and accept that it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. What does a full-time girlfriend do in Sydney, Australia? What does a typical week look like for you?
Yeah, so my partner owns a business, so he's quite successful. So in the morning, I would wake up. Yeah, so I actually have an answer for you.
Okay.
From my understanding, English is my second language. This is my understanding. It's like...
What's your first language?
it's second language. My first language is Bahasa, Indonesian.
Okay.
So my understanding is this: a girlfriend is like when you are exclusive with somebody, maybe you still sort of don't know whether it's gonna work.
Somebody or a man or a woman? Like you're straight, you're gay.
Straight.
Okay, so you're talking about a man.
Yeah, man. Sorry.
Okay.
What was I? Yeah. So if you are still sort of in the first year, it would be a boyfriend because like you don't really know that person just yet, but you
Mhm.
exclude. But a partner is not really like you're my partner, so like we're doing partnership. It's not about that. It's about you're a bit more serious. You're not marriage, but like you're serious. You live together, so you're my partner. But it's not really because you have to do certain things or anything like that.
Are you guys like equal partners, or are we talking about like pink jobs,
Equality.
blue jobs sort of stuff?
I don't believe in equality.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
So-
believe in really. There's no right, there's no wrong. Just what's working. And
So do you take on certain roles in the relationship, or how does that typically work for you?
so my day to day basically, he wakes up, I wake up, and then we have a personal trainer coming to our house, so we train, and then I'll prep his breakfast, and he would get ready, and then go to work and eats and whatever, and then I do Pilates, and then I help with his mum a little bit. So his mum stays in the nursing home, but before that, I used to see her 3 times a week, but like because she's in a nursing home now, I just prep her dinner and also dinner for my partner. So like do my grocery every day because he likes it fresh and he likes it good. So whatever he likes, I just do. And he gets home and then I just do whatever he needs to do. And then on the weekend, he normally do golf at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I would wake up at 4:30, get his breakfast, get him ready, just make his life easier, really, like whatever he needs.
How does that sit with the other 2 ladies?
I align with that. Like because I'm very traditional when it comes to relationship roles. So like she's singing my song here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's getting treated good over there.
Mandy, what do
She
you
got
think?
it good.
She got it good.
Mm-hmm.
What's the situationship? I jotted that down when you mentioned it. What do you mean by that?
Just someone that I'm exclusively seeing. I was on a different podcast, and when I said that I was single but I was exclusive with someone, they were like, "Well, you're in a relationship." So I was like, "Well, I guess we can say that." But yeah, I mean, I'm not together, but we are exclusively seeing each other because I only like one partner at a time.
So it still confuses me.
Is it exclusive sexually, or are you guys seeing other people or not sleeping with other people?
Entirely, like sexually, romantically.
Okay.
Everything.
So he's your boyfriend then?
Yeah. So like that's kind of a boyfriend.
So is there any situation that is infused into this situationship, like that would require that label alternatively from boyfriend?
Just because I like to be vocally asked out. Like I don't want to just be seeing someone we're exclusive for a while and then we just assume that we're together. I would like to be actually asked than just assumed. Because then communication better for me.
So if I understand you correctly,
yeah.
you're involved with him as your boyfriend, but you want to keep him at arm's length by not giving him the title and calling it a situation.
No.
Okay, so I'm not understanding you correctly.
I want the title. I just haven't been asked yet. So
okay, so you want him to ask you where you 2 stand?
Yes, and be like, "Do you want to be my girlfriend?"
Why wouldn't you ask him?
I'll say, "Yeah." See, that's a lot of people ask, but I don't know. I haven't felt like maybe it's the right time. I like to get to know someone a little bit more because when I put, "Oh, that's my boyfriend," I'm introducing them to my family and they're coming around. And as of right now, we're just kind of going on dates and seeing where things are going.
See, because I've always said that men are the gatekeepers to relationships and women are the gatekeepers to when intimacy happens. So you've decided when the intimacy part happens, I'm assuming it's already happened if you've been seeing each other for a while, it's incumbent upon women. And I'll tell women this, I'll die on this hill. It's really women that need to come to the table and say, "Hey, Bob, I dig your vibe. I like where this is going. Can we be exclusive? I don't want to claim you. I don't want to share you." Whatever that narrative happens to be for you that's going on going on in your mind. But I think you're going to find guys will push it off. And if you have genuine interest in him, like if you have genuine burning desire for this guy, like you yearn him, like you lust for him, it would be a good idea for you to say, hey, something that I want to talk about here. Just holding up a mirror and just
I
feeding
didn't
back.
see it that way usually. Okay.
I mean,
Usually I'm the one that like waits.
What changes
I guess,
between
with
the labels? It's like, so what changes if you were to go from situationship to relationship? Because I think most people would think that like a relationship is exclusivity, right? So I mean, if I'm just seeing somebody or we're just seeing each other, I may or may not be seeing other people. But usually if I'm in a relationship, that means exclusivity. So like what changes between an exclusive situationship and a relationship?
I guess like meeting my family and just like, you know, just like, I don't know, I take family very seriously. So Jesus, my cat. And so I just take that very like strongly. Like I like to, you know, introduce him to my sister and my father and my mother and, you know, all
How long have you
that.
known him?
But if we're just like not, I'm sorry?
How long have you known him?
About a year. We've been seeing each other for like maybe like 6 months.
Okay. All right. And what does a streamer do?
A streamer? Well, as of right now, I'm gaming. I do like Fortnite, COD, learning Valorant, just like gaming, talking to people, engaging.
Does that pay? Like, is there an income that comes off that?
It does.
How
It
well does
does,
that
but
pay?
I'm just recently starting right now, so
Yeah.
I'm a full-time OF model, you know.
So you're doing the gaming stuff, mentioning that you do OF. The people that follow you there will then subscribe to what you're doing on OF then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's how it works, yeah.
Okay, so there's a system. Would you stop doing OF if he asked you to?
Yeah. If it was getting serious, yeah, 1000%.
Does he have any issues with it right now? Has he raised any concerns or?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Actually, he's very helpful and he's very, you know, encouraging.
Cool. Danica, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Nurse in Manitoba.
Yes.
What's cooking? What's crack-a-lacking in your word? You're 34. You work full time as a nurse. I think you said that you're single, right?
Yes, I am.
What's your status? You looking? You're not looking?
Like I'm looking. I guess I'm looking, but I don't go anywhere to meet anyone, so it's difficult to look. Difficult to look and find.
Okay. So like out
Yeah.
in public, like events
Right.
and stuff. Do you use dating apps or anything like that?
I like very, very sporadically. I call it. It feels like human shopping for me. Like it's weird. It feels like a meat catalog. So it's just odd for me to use it, but I
Yeah.
have used them. Yeah.
What are your frustrations in the dating pool right now?
Well, for me personally, like what I find a lot is I find men that will more so just want sex, right? They kind of see my pictures online, which aren't like racy or anything, but they just see that and they just have this, they just want sex with me and that's pretty much it. And will kind of feed you the pipe dream of wanting a relationship and then just kind of always revert back to that.
Okay.
So for me, it's kind of exhausting that way. Like I would rather be told I'm a nice person than be told I'm pretty. Like it's lost its meaning over the time.
Really? You'd rather be told that you're nice than pretty?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like my looks are gonna fade, but like I'll be remembered for who I am as a person, not how I looked.
You're
And
like
that's
one of
more
those.
important to me.
What do they call those models that do like old style modeling? Like I'm looking at your Instagram right now
Like
because you got
pinup?
it in your bio.
Like pinup.
Pinup girl.
Pinup.
Yeah.
Pinup girl. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of these shots are all pinup girl. So, I mean, if you want to be recognized for being nice, why would you have attractive pictures you made up with makeup and pinup poses?
Well, so I have like also like a mixture of stuff because like right now, for instance, I'm running a massive it's called a Christmas cheer board here. So
Okay.
with my department, I kind of headed this big fundraiser and we raised $8,500 to like, and we're feeding 25 families for Christmas. So I do a lot of good and that is on my feed a lot.
Okay.
Right. And so and if you were to scroll farther down, you'll see like what we did last year and just like things that I do. Those were just recent photo shoots. And that's why they're the most recent things. I don't post everything that happens in my life day to day.
Mm.
Yeah.
Have you found any ways to try to like filter the guys that are looking for? So when you say serious, like what do you mean by serious? You want a boyfriend? You want a husband? You want a family? Like What?
Well, yeah, like all of that. I would like to, you know what I mean? It would be nice to have a boyfriend and to have a family. And like one day, like if I were to have a family, that'd be great. Like I'm not defined by motherhood. Like I'm happy, you know what I mean? How do I put it? Like I'm fulfilled with my life with what I have right now. So if I were to like meet a partner that just never were to have children, I wouldn't be devastated or feel like I'm missing out.
A partner
But,
or a man?
well, a man. Yes, sorry, a husband.
Okay, so husband. All right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Real
like
quick,
you said,
I want to. Again, how did you meet the last guy you were seeing? Because there was an interesting sort of thing that I messaged Danica about coming on the show, and she originally said, "Hey, I'm actually seeing somebody," and he wasn't, stoked with it. He wasn't cool about it, and she originally said, "No, I don't want to come on out of respect for that guy," which is interesting. I've never had that before. We've had people that have asked, like boyfriends or husbands or whatever. But then that ended up not working out. And then there was I think you mentioned he was kind of masquerading as a traditionalist, but really It was more overbearing and like controlling. Can you just talk about that experience a little bit?
Yeah, like so he kind of came forward and we were talking because like it was one of the prompts on because I do have like the dating profile open, and one of the prompts it says like when it comes to dating, are you more traditional? And I am like I firmly believe in gender roles, and that's what I prefer. And so I had put that. So when we started talking, that kind of got brought up, and he really leaned into that. And so I guess you could say kind of fed me what it is that I was looking for in a partner. Sorry, husband, relationship, whatever. So he fed me that. And yeah, just so when you broached me with this topic, because we had kind of talked about, respecting boundaries and how sometimes people take respecting boundaries as control when there's like, you know what I mean? It's like a fine line. And if you're respecting your partner or your, you know what I mean? Whoever, can I say partner? What do I say?
The problem that I have with the word partner is a word from law firms, right? Or business partnerships, and applies equality. You get to a certain level, like you make partner, and you sort of divvy up the pool of clients and money, and whatever the structure happens to be. It's more of a business transaction versus my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend. It's for people that often say that they subscribe to more conservative gender roles, I'll always correct them because I think it's a far better use of the descriptive term to say my boyfriend or my girlfriend rather than my partner.
Okay. Yeah. So I respect my boyfriend's opinion. And so that's why I asked him what his comfort and bounds are, because you're learning someone and you're learning their boundaries. And so I figured it was a really good way to kind of see where his boundaries were at. And, and he expressed that he wasn't comfortable with it. And he gave like a pretty decent reason as to why. And it wasn't anything at that point that seemed overbearing, because, it was just more concerned if like sex were to be brought up, because, you shouldn't really be openly talking about sex with other people. That's something you share with your boyfriend or your significant other. And so I respected it. And so I told him no. Yeah. And then after that, there was just things that were brought up that it was like very controlly in a way. Like, I don't know. Like I had talked to Moff about it before.
What's the difference between, traditional sort of roles and controlly? Like when does it become controlly?
Well, like trying to like heavily convince me that I should not have an IUD and that I should only track my cycle, and like was just like constant on it. And I'm just like, I don't really think that's your call to tell me what I'm doing with, my reproductive health when I've known you for 2 weeks. Right. It was just stuff like that. Like but it wasn't like it was just like a thrown out comment. He kept bringing it up because he was really bothered by the fact. And I was just like, that's just weird. That's a weird kind of, and it was just like kind of starting that way. And being 34, I've dated quite a bit. So I can kind of, now I'm getting smarter at picking up those flags instead of just like focusing on the positive of the person and ignoring those things.
So playing the devil's advocate on that issue. So I'm thinking from the dude's perspective, what was he thinking at that time? And here's what I'm going to cook up. Had a genuine interest in you, probably wanted to have a family or kids, was concerned about how it's a copper one or it's hormonal?
Hormonal.
Okay. So the thing with the hormonal ones is they modify your behavior because it puts you into a state of perpetual pregnancy, right? Like it just tricks your body into thinking that you're pregnant. And that changes your hormones. It also changes the way that you choose men too, by the way. One of the things that they've studied is they've noticed that if a woman's on like birth control, like let's just say she's popping the pill, she meets a guy, they date for a while, they dig each other's vibe, they get married, now they want to have kids, she comes off the birth control. her preference for men actually changes. It changes from safety, comfort, security, ease, you know, in those areas, and less lust. And then it transfers to something where she's come off the birth control and now she's basically going through her entire cycle. She's ovulating, like the whole luteal shifts and all that sort of stuff happen. And she goes from, you know, being in a place where she wants comfort and safety to extremely horny, you know, as well as, you know, for 6-7 days of the month sort of thing too. So there might have been a genuine concern for reproductive health and, you know, your attraction to him, because, you know, for those watching, if you're going to date a woman that's on birth control and get serious with her and put a ring on her finger and have, you know, family, you should probably get off birth control before you take those commitments, because you're not really going to know what your attraction level to him is if you're on some form of hormonal birth control, because it modifies your attraction level to him.
Interesting.
It's just a different angle. Now, whether or not that's right for him to say, you know, 2 weeks into dating, you're probably right. Like maybe that's a conversation for like later on down the road, but it's just something to contemplate though, right?
Yeah, well, because I never thought of that. So for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll definitely change the kind of guy that you look at for sure. For sure. They've done lots of studies on this. Marty Hazelton, it's a female, by the way. She's got quite a few papers and I think at least one book, maybe 2 books out on the subject. I read them a while ago. Yeah, but it definitely has an impact on the way that you choose men in the dating scope and how you respond to them. And if you come off the birth control, how you handle them after that, because it does shift. It changes quite a lot. Sorry, I totally got sidetracked. Yeah, so you were talking about some of the challenges with dating today as well, too?
Then the biggest challenge is I don't really go anywhere to see anyone. Like I go to work and I come home. So I'm not sitting here complaining that I'm single. Yeah. But I just, I'm a homebody baseline. And so it's just, I just like to be at home, which isn't very helpful in that area of my life. But I don't know.
But I mean, it's also fine too if you're, you know, with a guy and you're just comfortably sitting back and chilling too.
Well, for sure. And I would say the people that I've met that I have dated recently have like all been, say when I'm like at work, right? Because I work in an area that has lots of different faculties that come through, right? So like, you know what I mean? Of all different types. And so I've met a lot of people just that way through my work. And that's generally how I've recently dated, is through just people that I've met organically and not through a dating website. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask this question for all the ladies. There's this notion of the word ick that sort of goes around. Like there's certain things that give women like, you know, like gross them out or turn them off. What top items for you gals give you the ick?
A guy who talks a lot.
Talks a lot about anything specific or just talks too much?
Like just talks too much about their feelings. Like I don't want to know about it.
Okay. So you don't want a guy crying on your shoulder like a little...
Which I think what happened is when someone, certain traits comes with personality. Like for example, when women says, I want to have a guy who likes, you know, who can talk to me, like you wouldn't get a guy who is successful who wants to talk to you about your feelings. Like it just doesn't exist. That's why you need a girlfriend, right? So me, if I know for a fact, if a guy have too much time to talk, it's a red flag. Like they have too much time in their hands. Like they should be doing something with their life. Talking about feelings, like they should be able to manage that emotion. They should be doing all that. Like so I don't like guys who like to talk. Okay.
Anything else from other girls?
Like I don't know. For me, like I guess a personal, like I guess 2, and one would be someone that has like no motivation, right? That has no motivation to in their career or just in life in general. Like because I would like someone that would be motivated, that could support a potential family, right? And be able to give in that way. But also for me, it's like guys that only will talk about themselves. Like I've gone out with them and like you try and like add to the conversation. They'll never like elaborate on what you're talking about. Cause like what you're talking about might not completely interest me, but it's about you. So I'm interested to learn about you. Right. Like I've listened to men talk about like working out, and I don't go to the gym, but I'll listen and I'll engage in it because it's a, you know, something that's interesting to them. So when you just have someone that's just very one-sided in communication, that's a bit of a turnoff for me. The
level of ambition that you're looking for, like how much money does it have to make? Like what sort of income would you need for you?
See, but I don't know. I don't have a number, right? It's just, you just have to have something that's reliable, right? Like something because I've gone out with someone, it was like a long time ago, and he hopped, like he was a hopper, and he jumped from job to job, and then every time he would apply for jobs that he wasn't qualified for, but then would talk as though he had done this job for 15 years and he'd never, like a masonry, he had never laid brick in his life, right? It was just like, I guess I want stability, right? So someone that has a job that's stable.
Yeah, you've got a good stable job. I mean, you'll always have a job because the healthcare system is always going to need you there. You've got yourself unionized, probably, I would imagine, in Manitoba too, right? Nurses make over 100,000 there.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I do because, I work a lot of overtime. So yes, I do.
So, I mean, if you had a stable guy that works, I don't know, at the counter at Shoppers Drug Mart, dispensing the pharmaceuticals, makes, I don't know, whatever he makes, 60, 70 grand or something like that. Like, is that sufficient? Like, is that a stable job?
It's stable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, would it be
money?
Yeah, because like I'm not looking at someone for like the dollar sign, right? Because like I was raised very moderate, like, you know what I mean? I guess like you say like lower mid-level income, and so I don't have value on things, right? Like I just don't have the value on that, and so if someone's able to provide me like you know what I mean, just like the security emotionally, like just to have someone in my life that way, that's more important to me.
Do you find that most of the guys that you go out with don't meet that criteria of being stable and ambitious?
No, the ones that I have gone out with have all been stable.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just that you've expressed interest, they haven't chosen you back, sort of thing. There's just no real connection, or it's just sexual for them or something like that.
The last like long-term relationship I was in it was like, I call it toxic because it was like a light switch. It was on and off for like 2.5 years. Right. So it was a very toxic relationship, and he was stable, but it was just a very, very toxic relationship. And so it just ended up not working because of like the negative history that kept getting brought into it every time we would like try again.
What was the light switch turning on and off?
Well, that's what I call it, because it was like, what was it? Our relationship, like we were on again, off again, on again, off again. So I called it like a light switch.
Okay, so you're like breaking up and getting back together.
Yeah, it was very unhealthy. But like at the end of the day, no one forced me to go back to him. I chose it every time, right? So I can't blame anyone but myself for that. So
what were the breakups over?
It was just a lot of messiness with his ex, and he didn't have the boundaries set there, and so there was just lots of infiltration.
Ex-wife or?
I guess like ex-girlfriend. Like he had children with her. It was just like an ex.
Oh,
so
okay. So
yeah. It was a very toxic relationship there, and he didn't have the boundaries set for our relationship, so it just kind of always overflowed into ours and caused most of the issues.
I want to come back to you and hear from you a little bit on your experience dating a guy with kids. Mandy, we're talking about the ick. What's your top ick items?
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, maybe not having a car, because I feel like, I don't know, living in LA, you kind of need a car, and expecting me to like come to you and pick you up, and come to you and pick you up, or like send you an Uber. How many times I've been told like send me an Uber is ridiculous.
Men have asked you to send them an Uber to pick them up?
Yeah, I will like immediately stop talking to you if you ask me for money. Like, unless we're like committed and we've been going strong and you're like struggling, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna be there. But if we're just barely getting to know each other, like in like the first like month or something, then I'm hitting the block button.
Moff, we're at the point where dudes are asking women to send them an Uber.
I mean, it's kind of common for like OnlyFans girls, if you're like talking to someone, that they're very common to ask for money, like pretty.
They ask you for money.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you end up being like a sugar mama.
They try me.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then there was something else you were about to say?
I don't know.
There's got to be more than that. I mean,
I don't know.
no car is a huge one. Like, I don't think we've heard that yet on this show. Like, I think that would be like everybody would say that, but I mean, it's funny that you have a specific experience in that.
Yeah, it's kind of different. If like you get mad at me for like working rather than like going out all the time, like I need somebody who is probably just as a homebody as I am. Because I kind of went through like my clubbing phase with my friends and everything. So like hopefully somebody like who's not in their club phase anymore, and like we can go out once in a while with our friends, but like if you're going out all the time, probably not. Nope.
What's the What's the lady's experience like, Danica, when it comes to dealing with a guy with kids from a prior? How many kids did he have?
2.
And what was that like?
Well, so we both agreed that we weren't in a place of us being, healthy and strong enough for us to integrate the children into that relationship, because I look at kids as like innocent little beings. And of course they're going to get, connected to that person. And it's not fair for them to get connected to someone that might not be there in 4 months. So we never integrated them that way. But for me, like, that's the one thing I will give him. Like, he was a very good father and a very involved father. And so, yeah. So for me, if someone has children and they're kind of lackadaisical about their role as a father, that's a huge turnoff for me. I think that's a commitment that you have, and you have to fulfill that to those children.
So you never met them? You didn't do any like play dates?
No, I didn't. Like,
nothing?
I would get little gifts and stuff and give them to him, and he would, like, you know what I mean? He would give them just, yeah. So I never
And
met
that was
them.
2 years you guys dated?
It was on and off for 2.5 years. Yeah.
And during the 2.5 years, it was never, hey, I really dig your vibe. I want to, meet your kids and see where this is going, sort of thing, or?
No, because we were never, because it was so toxic, and it was like, it would last for like 6 months and then it would be off again. Right. So it was just never stable enough for me to feel comfortable. And him, like, he was very respectful that way, like, and responsible with his kids' emotions to bring his kids into a relationship that might not continue, like, later. And then they're left not understanding where that person went. Right.
What sort of offside behavior was the baby mama doing?
Oh, she just hated, I guess for her, at the end of the day, she didn't want it to be over, right? She was very hopeful that there would be a reconciliation there. So I guess hearing rumor, because, like, I was hidden for pretty much that whole time. Like, there was never any public announcement we were together. It was always very, very quiet and hush hush. Like, yeah, I was very hidden. And once again, I allowed myself to be hidden for that amount of time. And, like, looking back on it, if that was my friend, I would never let my friend let herself be treated that way, but I did. And yeah, so she would just constantly, like, just be at him about me. And she tried messaging me on different platforms, so I had to, like, block her on everything.
And what was she messaging you about?
Oh, she would, because, like, one time I called him and she happened to be there picking up the kids or whatever, and so she, like, lost her mind and then called me or messaged me, and she said, I'd really appreciate it if you'd stop calling him. Right. And it's like, and him and I had been together for like 6 months at this point, but she was just, and they had been separated for longer than they were together at that point. But she just wasn't, there's just a lot of things on her end.
Yeah, it always gets easier for guys when their ex moves on to, like, when they find somebody else that they can focus all their attention on, then they stop bothering him. Yeah. But
and he didn't do that. So
yeah, but that's par for the course, really. I mean, so that's something that you probably want to filter for as a chick when you're dating. It's like, has she moved on? Like, how long has it been, sort of thing, right?
Yeah. And that was my first time really, like, dating someone that had children. And so it was a learning experience. That's for sure.
Would you do it again? Or it's not optimal?
I mean, I would say if I had a choice, I would rather, like, choose a man that doesn't have children. But I mean, if he did have children, I think, there was someone I was talking to on a dating app, and he said he had 2 kids, and he asked, we were kind of talking, and my first question was like, how's your relationship with their mother? Right. And he said that it was very amicable, that they get along very well, and they're better off, like, not together than they were together. Like, it's less toxic. So, what I mean? So I do ask it. Yeah. It's not a complete write-off. Like, if I had a preference, it would be no, but at my age, it's, when you kind of start dating up in age, right, there's always going to be a chance of, like, divorce and children, right?
Do you feel a calling to your own children, like to have your own?
Yeah, like, okay, we're gonna throw this out there. I was married at one point when I was 27.
Okay.
And, like, we did get pregnant, and I had a miscarriage then. So, like, I did want, like, I do want children, and I was very excited to, like, at that prospect.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess I've seen women that I work with, like, that were so steadfast on getting pregnant and having kids, and then now we're in their 40s and it never happened, and they're very crusty. They're very negative about it, and they're very, they feel shorted in life because they never had that experience.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, it's like, I do want children, but if it never happens, I'm not going to sit there and be upset about it, because I am happy with the life that I do currently have. Yeah. Would it be fulfilled potentially more with children? 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get pregnant by any random person just to have that.
Yeah, no, there's a contingent of women, what do they call themselves? Single mothers by choice. They usually either have, like, a donor or just like a random dude that they've been friends with forever, usually a gay guy or something like that. They're just like, hey, let's get pregnant, sort of thing, and they call themselves a single mother by choice, but it doesn't always seem to work out so well either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the topic of kids, Mandy and Angie, are you guys, feeling a calling towards children, or is there's plenty of time for you?
Nope, I got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angie, you're 33.
Yeah.
What about you?
Nah,
No?
not at this point. No.
Do you think that it's something to contemplate? Because there's a finite timeline, right? Like your best fertility years are in your 20s, obviously, and they start to decline as the years go on, and it's pretty much done by the time you're close to 40 or 41 or so.
I'm happy not having kids.
Yeah.
And I don't think he wants kids either.
Yeah.
How old is he? How old is your boyfriend?
My boyfriend is 42.
Does he have any kids of his own?
No.
Interesting.
Just being together. That's it.
Moff's.
One of the questions I had for Angie, it's a little bit off. We can come back to the kids' point, but this is something I wanted to get out. Angie, we had a woman on a couple of weeks ago who very traditional, was very happy about being in a traditional role. She had one kid, but that didn't really apply or come into play. But it was the fact that she was asking us, why do I have female friends that are constantly dogging my boyfriend or trying to tell me that I'm a slave or stuff like that? Like, do you have a lot of girlfriends? Do you have very few girlfriends? I mean, do you have so what's that experience with other women in your life that either are single and other relationships? What is that like for you?
So I pick my problems. I don't want no problems. If a girlfriend say anything that's bad about my partner comes first. They go second. They go away. So I only actually have 2 girlfriends, and I don't really I'm not looking for other girls, because normally they're quite catty and they get jealous and they always give you advice that is not beneficial for you. And then when something happens, they're not going to be there for you anyway. Like, mystery love company, right? So I don't hang out with girls who is single. I don't hang out with girls who is divorced. I hang out with girls who is happy in their relationship. So then I'm happy with my relationship. They're happy in their relationship. They're low maintenance. They've got their own life. I've got my own. So I keep.
Where would you recommend that women like that find other women similar? So, I mean, women that are in relationships that are more traditional, that are not partiers, they're not drinkers, they don't want to go out and do, whatever, but they're not sure where to find, like-minded or similar women. And maybe it's other couples, or maybe it's something that the two of you do together. But where would you sort of recommend if somebody was like, hey, look, I want a girlfriend or a couple of girlfriends that I can at least have some time away from my man or boyfriend or whoever, but what would you think would be good advice on that? And maybe you don't know.
Because I don't hang out, I don't go out. I happened to meet one of the girls that is it's my boyfriend's family friend's girlfriend, and we just get on really well. And then one of them is just, I don't know, like just random. I'm the type, I'm very introvert. I don't need a girlfriend. I don't need to talk to anyone. If I'm lazy, I read a book or I listen to something that can, gain something in my life. Like, I don't want to listen to bullshit. I don't have tolerance for girlfriends who talk about ex-boyfriends, or I don't know. Like, I'm very black and white. Like, if I don't like it, I'm gone.
You said you're from Indonesia?
Yeah.
Remind me, is that a Muslim country?
Yeah, I'm not Muslim. No.
Okay. The cultural values they're generally conservative, they're more traditional, or?
It is very traditional, I would say. Like, my dad is Chinese Indonesian and my mom is actually Dutch Indonesian.
Okay.
So like a bit of mixed culture. So I'm not really full the Indonesian, but like my family is very, very traditional.
Yeah.
Since I was little, she's very realistic. She always tell me, women value beauty. Like, so it's not something new for me, and I've been accepting that since I was little. And she always tell me I'm replaceable, so make sure you find a good man. And when you find a good man, make sure that you keep him, because men doesn't mean that they want to fuck you, they want to stay with you. That's just how it is. So the
Yeah, it's
looks get,
interesting that you've said that. That's, you know, women are essentially beauty objects and that you are replaceable. I think that the narrative that a lot of women hear today is counter to that, where they're, you know, they're told a vast sequence of lies of you're irreplaceable, you're absolutely perfect, you're, I mean, to some degree, like as I look at you, it looks like you've kind of won the genetic lottery because your eye color and your skin tone and, you know, your parents and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of women out there that are just, I don't know, what do they call them, mid Moff? I don't know. You know, like very average that are lied to and, you know, basically said like, you go girl, you can do better. You know, why are you making him breakfast in the morning? Like, why can't he make it for himself? Like, why are you serving the man, sort of thing? You've got this totally different angle about all of that. And that's from the country culture or from your family upbringing. Is it from religion? Like, where'd you get that from?
family upbringing for sure. I'm not a religious person at all. Family upbringing for sure. My mom, she's a very, very great lady. And I think, like I said, being in touch with reality. Because, you know, the thing is, it doesn't make sense. If you're special, I'm special, then nobody is special. Special means you're unique. But if you're special, I'm special, she's special, then nobody is special. Like, it doesn't make any, like, I think people just like to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to accept that life is hard. It's so hard. Like, I came to Australia as an immigrant, you know, 10 years ago. And then I was in New Zealand after year 10. And like, it's so difficult. Life is so hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so for me, and like, I do get benefits from my beauty, like, you know, because I'm a girl, like I get a lot of benefits from it. But like, a life as a man, when I see my partner go to work every morning, do you think he wants to go to work every morning? Like, going through his stress, like, it's so hard. Like, the last thing you want to be is annoying, and the last thing you want to be is difficult. Like, and like my mom, I think growing up, my mom always taught me like, as a woman, you got to serve your man. And my dad actually is so funny because like he speaks broken English, and he goes to me, this is how it is. Woman serves man, man serves customer. Like, that's how he put it. Like, and like, it just always stuck in my head. And the thing is, no matter what people say, it works for me. It works for my life. Like, maybe I win a lottery, but I'm not lazy. I'm very disciplined. I'm very consistent. No matter how I feel, I will always do my job. No matter how I feel, I will prepare the food. No matter how I feel, I will make sure the house is clean. No matter how I feel, I will make sure that his mom is taken care of, and whatever her needs, I will do. Like, I will put my responsibility before how I feel.
Are you guys unplugging and seeing the code in the matrix? You've seen several women over the last several months, and there's always a consistent pattern between the ones that are in a happy long-term relationship and the ones that are, you know, struggling with some difficulties. And I think Angie just, you know, like that, like, you know,
That's
my
a
editor's
clip.
probably going to clip this because it's going to be a 5-minute piece. It's going to go on the clips channel now, but it's like the points that you're making there about being feminine, being a compliment to his life, not irritating him, not nagging him, obviously being useful. I think it's a lost art. You know, I really do, because in a lot of Western cultures, it's, you know, you don't need a guy. Why do you want to rely on somebody? You want to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, you know, go out and get your degrees and climb the corporate ladder and, you know, go and do all the work and put off everything until a later date. And like, one of the great issues I think with feminism today, it's reached a version of toxicity where it basically tells women not to do anything for the express pleasure of a man. And I think that you sort of knock that away. You sort of cast it aside and say, no, I saw this work in my parents' relationship. I see it working in my relationship. You know, you can keep that one for yourself. Do you get a lot of that programming? Like, do you get a lot of that from Sydney, you know, in the culture, the media programming, the advertising?
Yeah, my partner he's always been unplugged. That's why I gotta listen to you, so, you know, I can understand him. Because as a woman, sometimes it's so hard to understand men, you know, like, because you're so logical and we're so emotional. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, you're heartless. But after reading your book, it just makes sense. Like, and like, I don't know, it just really, really helped me to deal with my partner and how I deal with my emotion and how I look at things as what it is, not what it should or could be. Like, it really, really helped me. So,
is there anything in my book that you disagreed with?
Not disagree. I would argue that if you want to be in a long-term relationship with somebody, like spending the rest of your life. I believe in like I believe in that's it. Like I choose my man, and then I'm not. No matter what happened, we're together. That's what I believe.
Mhm.
That's how my parents and stuff, believe. So I believe that you got to move in with your partner to know, or to you with your girlfriend or boyfriend after a certain amount of time
Mhm.
to assess whether you're compatible or not. Because when you live with somebody, it's very different to when you just see them, once a week or twice a week or stuff like that. Like they are a different person. Like you get
Yeah.
all the, or they throw these, these socks here, or I don't know, like all those things matters at the end, I believe.
When you were dating your boyfriend, who ended up claiming who? Because we were talking to Mandy earlier, and with her situationship, she gives it the label because he hasn't asked her to be, his girlfriend yet. Like, did you ask him? Did he ask you? Like, how did that work out for you?
It's never like that. Like he's a very slow man. Like it's probably take 2 years for us to move in together, and for him to because he's got a lot to lose. I understand. As a guy, I think you should do that. Like you should really look at things for what it really is, not what when you're infatuated with somebody, you're like assuming, oh, they're gonna be this. No. Like you gotta look at them and see how they react, see what they do when they're angry. And I think that's what he was doing. Like, so he took it really slow for the first 2 years, and then I moved in with him, and then it just sort of go from there. It's never been conversation about anything.
You didn't bring up the conversation like, are we exclusive or anything like that? He didn't.
No.
It just sort of happened by osmosis.
Yeah.
Okay. Natural path of things, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mandy, what's the ideal situation? I say situationship, but we've got a couple women here that are, subscribed to the traditional roles, and I want to come back to Danica on this too because I had a question. But like, as you're hearing some of this, and as we're talking about, very sort of blue jobs and pink jobs and more of a traditional relationship sense, how does that strike you? Is that something that you've thought about for yourself? Have you, being on a couple of shows and podcasts now and having some of these conversations, how is that, if at all, affected your perception of relationships, like what you want out of relationships, or have you really been laser focused on, one thing? What's it been like for you?
Well, I mean, considering, my work and everything, it's not traditional. I don't work the everyday 9 to 5 regular jobs that people want to say. So it's very hard to find someone who, I guess is traditional in my way. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't really see what I do being like a serious aspect of my relationship, or like why someone should care so much. And that might be like harsh to some people because they're like, what? Like, what do you mean you do that? And I'm just like, I don't really think it's like a big deal. I'm a solo artist, and, I don't do anything
For
with
the
anyone.
layman at home, can you maybe in like PG-13 words, just like what you mean by that? Like you don't do content with someone else? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
don't like,
you're
I
by
do solo
yourself.
content. Yeah. I'm like, I'm homebody. I'm always, if I'm like at home, I'm working on my computer all day, literally right here, just on my monitor. And then I don't know, some people assume that I'm just like out every night. I'm just like for the streets. So it's kind of hard to find somebody who's like traditional in my way, like don't really care. Like we do what we do, and we just try to, be happy, maybe have a family. Like I definitely want to get married and have a family, but by the time I do that, I don't want to be doing what I do anymore. So we're just saving, investing, and starting new businesses right now. So
What have been the criticisms from guys that you dated or that you've seen, or reasons like that OF has come back? Like, what have they cited as reasons as far as OF? Like, what have they said? Is it just because like, oh, you're on OF, like that's it, deal breaker? Or have they talked about?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
usually just
don't
a
say
deal breaker. I've gone like, I caught my ex cheating on me because I mean, I don't really know why, but then when I found out and I talked to him about it, he was like, well, you do OF, so like why are you upset when you find this out? And I was like, whoa, what does that even mean? But I mean, it's not
And are you
everybody's cup of
having
tea.
like, is there, because we talk a lot about, and there's so many different types of streaming and the types of things people are doing on OF. And a lot of times though, we find that, and I don't know if this is something that you're involved with, but it often involves a parasocial relationship where you'll have, text conversations or online conversations with audience members, whether that's live or private, and then it sort of gives off the impression that, they're invested in you and you're invested in them. Is it like, is that the kind of stuff that you do, or is it mostly just like, hey, you guys sign up to watch me do my thing, and you don't really interact with the audience?
I mean, I do interact with my audience and my partner. Usually, I'll give him a whole rundown when I feel like we're comfortable enough. I give him a whole rundown of what I do, and so I'm fully transparent, and you're not ever guessing what is you doing on there. It's just this is what I'm doing daily. But at the end of the day, my clients, they always know this is strictly work, where I'm not actually in a relationship with you, and I have to remind that. And there's a lot of creators that are out here telling their clients, oh, I love you too. I don't ever say I love you. I don't ever say I'm your girlfriend. I don't ever say any of those things. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's different dating and trying to get in relationships. Yeah. And most of the time they end up cheating. So I don't know why. They kind of just get bored with me always working.
Why do you think guys cheat? If you were to venture a guess.
I always say it's giving in to temptation, because at the end of the day, you can have a partner. People are always going to find other people attractive. It's rather whether you want to, actually give in to that. Some people are a little weak and give into it, and some people aren't.
Why do you think people cheat?
I think that person doesn't bring enough value, so you're so easy to replace. So what if you're gonna leave me? You leave me. You bring nothing in my life. So why should I have control myself when you don't bring anything into my life? You mean nothing. You're replaceable. So I will cheat. I think that's the reason why.
You think men and women cheat for the same reasons?
No.
Mandy?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like most women cheat because they're not getting treated right, and then men just cheat because some shotties be bad as hell. But I don't know. Then there's some people that are genuine, I'm not getting the reciprocation, and I'm not getting what I need, so I'm gonna get it somewhere else. But I think people should just be if you don't want it, say that and then leave. Don't just linger because you don't have many options. So
Danica, you said that men and women cheat for different reasons. What are they?
I personally believe women, a lot of women will cheat because I personally believe women are driven for attention and men are driven by their ego. And so women will cheat for attention, right? If they're feeling they're not getting attention from their partner, they'll source that out, whether it be because I find cheating can also be emotional. It doesn't need to be sexual all the time. So you'll have these women that will have these conversations with men that it's not appropriate, right? You're emotionally delving into with another man when that should be you should be talking to your husband about that. And I find with men what I've experienced is a lot of men will cheat if the woman doesn't value herself, right? If you don't bring that value to the table to the man, right? And show that you're valuable for him to have in his life, because as much as I can easily be replaced, he knows that, right? So if I'm not acting like I'm worth having around, he's going to source out another woman, right? He's going to source it somewhere else. And as much as I know a lot of women hate it, men are visual creatures. So if I start not, caring about how I look, and I kind of, let myself go and always look like a slob all the time, he's going to source out someone that's taking care of themselves. He's going to source it.
Okay. I mean, I've heard some version from everybody about women being beauty objects and they need to maintain the optics of attraction, right? You'd be surprised to learn that, because when women step out on a relationship, like you mentioned, they have an emotional attachment, and it's not always intimacy. It just might be texting. It might be leading up to that. They might have a strong fondness for that person, maybe even lust for them. But the intimacy part may not have happened yet. But the thing that's very, very different between men and women is I've dealt with some very high net worth individuals and sports athletes, actors, entrepreneurs, and they can easily just go out and have some fun, get some exercise, come home, love their family, the wife and the children, and everything's fine. Like nothing ever changes for them because they can do it without the emotional attachment. The thing with women that we've noticed anyway is that there always seems to have to be that type of connection. So if she steps out, it's basically over, right? The thing that women don't seem to understand is when they see a guy do it, they think that men are doing it for the same reasons that they do it, right? Because when women have that emotional attachment, then they'll assign that to him and be like, he cheated, he stepped out on me. But it's like a guy can cheat, but when a woman does it, it's a betrayal, right? Because there's a strong emotional connection and attachment to that dude, right? Yeah, I always find that interesting when that topic comes up because we sort of like getting these conversations, Moff. There's some dynamics that exist that men and women struggle to understand the others. I think that women, for the most part, will always see it from their perspective and struggle to think for a moment that he can just do that and still come home and love the family and love her and not want to change anything. Whereas when she does, it's basically over at that point.
Yeah, men and women think about sex differently. I mean, we're just hardwired differently, and the way we think about it is differently. So it's very difficult for one side to see the other because of biological hardwiring, and you have to really be able to understand how men think about it, how women think about it. There's a couple of things in the chat. I want to get to the super hit really quick.
Yeah, throw it up. We'll do that.
But I wanted to say there was a couple of things there was a couple of guys in the chat that are mentioning, and there are a couple of guys that have said, well, Mandy, I think that what this guy was saying is men are very protective over their women, and especially whether you want to call this mate guarding or really it's protecting paternity. We talk about men are protective of their women, especially when it comes to sexuality. And so your job isn't exactly, filing papers or like sweeping up after, sweeping bathrooms or anything like that. So that's something where it's sort of I think while some women are able to kind of compartmentalize that, maybe a lot of guys will have an issue with that just because that's my woman, that's my lady, that's what's reserved for me and only me in the bedroom. So I just wanted to bring that up as a couple of guys in the chat were mentioning. But we'll throw this up real quick, Rich, from Giuseppe. We got a super chat. In Australia, most marriages will fail, I'm guessing, and divorce is skyrocketing to alarming levels. How sad. That's why the Unplugged Alpha and Ladies' Nights are so useful to gain insight into women's inner workings / anatomy. P.S. I will never marry. Thanks for the super.
Thanks for that. Here's a question for you. If a guy steps out and cheats, would you end the relationship or would you just look the other way? If he was taking care of the family, the kids, the house, your car was, looked after, everything's in place, nothing changes, would you want to untie the knot or would you just look the other way and say, I can only do it so much, I'm only interested so much, let him do what he wants. Just don't embarrass me.
No, I would be done because for me the trust is the trust to be broken. So unless we could work on that issue,
But if it was overtly stated and you knew that he was doing it, then there's no trust to be broken because you understand that he's doing it.
Oh, I wouldn't be with someone that I knew was doing it.
Got it.
Yeah.
What about Angie and Mandy?
If I didn't know, then or like if how do I explain it? Like if I don't know. Why would I already knew he was cheating, and then I don't know. I don't feel like I'd agree to that, to having an open relationship but if I found out and I already had a family and I had everything set, if it was just one time, probably. But if it was over and over and over and over again, yeah, I'd probably leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Angie?
It depends, I guess.
How common is it in your culture from your country?
Not at all. I mean, if the girl is and you can tell when a guy cheats, the wife is always that type. I don't know, it's a certain.
So what would it depend on? Because it sounds like it's conditional.
Yeah, it is conditional. Everything in this world is conditional. I don't think. Anyway, I will talk about it with him in terms of okay, if let's say, I'm gonna ask him, are you gonna keep doing it? If he said yes, okay, cool. So where is the happy medium? Like, I don't know. We'll just figure out something out. So no, I'm not gonna.
So it's not the end of the relationship. See, because I personally think, and I'll die on this hill, I think women are incredibly selfish. If a guy is provided for a family, chosen a wife, taking care of everything, the bills are looked after, she doesn't have to worry, the children are looked after, he does the family events. I think women are incredibly selfish and stupid for ending a marriage and leaving a guy thinking that the grass is greener somewhere else and destroying that family and separating the children from the parents, especially if they're small.
But it's not so much, sometimes it's not selfishness, but it's also valuing yourself, right? I value myself to be treated better because my dad's also like, told me that I deserve to be treated with respect, right? And if you're going to...
No, but he's still treating you. He's still treating you with respect. There's no woman that's going to come knocking on your door saying, Danica, I have your husband's baby. There's no him taking her on vacations and treating her like a wife or anything like that. There's no him taking her to the family restaurant where you guys go with the kids and one of your friends will take a picture
out of the bank account. None of that.
There's still the respect component that exists.
But it's existing to benefit him, right? Like it's not. I'm not getting
variety. It's just exercise. He's not falling in love with these women.
No, because he wouldn't feel the same way if I did it.
Well, it's different if you do it. Because when women do it, then there's an emotional attachment when they do it.
But there's some women, like, you know what I mean, that can have sexual encounters just on a whim and just have them without that sexual component.
No, that's actually not true because I knew the lawyer that set up Ashley Madison. I don't know if you're familiar with the brand.
Yeah.
So I knew the lawyer that worked in the legal team for Ashley Madison, and I learned that a lot of the stuff that they do, like a lot of the marketing and a lot of the holding out that they do to the public is pretty much all lies, right? Like there's no women on there that are just doing it and just going back to the husbands, and it's just, there's no emotional attachment. Most of the shit that you see on there is fake, and it's used to siphon money off of simps and dudes that think that they're going to get some side action. So
like I'm not saying like these women don't think it would for sure affect their relationship more than it would like a male's, right? He said a guy could go do it, come home and be with his family, provide and continue like nothing happened, where women will change their behavior, right? Because it is the emotional aspect that way. But
yeah, they generally stop sleeping with their husband. They generally are more distant. They'll spend more time with their friends. They'll take weekends away and disappear.
Take fights, all of that, right? They kind of just become everything that he wouldn't want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's...
You know what the stats are like for children from single mother households? Because 43% of households now are raising children as a single parent household. Do you know what they are?
I could speak as like I have both my parents, but like I mostly just like am growing up. I was like taking my dad's side more, and I was just so speaking from like a child from a single father. I feel like it was better. Seeing that like my parents were happier separated, and my mom wasn't like super around, but when she was good, and my dad hustled his ass, and that was his choice, and so I think it's good. I think it just depends on like the person entirely.
You were raised predominantly by your father though, not your mother, right?
Yeah, mostly by my
because that's
father.
the huge difference, right? The vast majority of single parent households or single mother households, I think it's something like, north of 80%. I think it's like 1 in 5 single parent households are single fathers, and a lot of that has to do with the Western court system and the way family law is set up. But yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I just wanted to throw that up there.
I covered some of the details in my book, but just off the top of my head, the vast majority of teenage gang activity, pregnancies, abortions, shitty grades, runaways, the vast majority of the incarcerated today come from single mother households. Women do an incredibly poor job of raising boys and girls to be men and women, which is why I think, anyway, if the guy's taking care of the household and he loves the family and he's just stepped out and it's nothing serious, it's nothing like an emotional attachment, these women are incredibly selfish and they're destroying families by doing stuff like this. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. What I'm saying is I think it's a real bad idea, and it hurts the children and it hurts family and it hurts the fabric of society over something that's really just exercise for 20 minutes. What else do we got on the...
I had a question for Danica I wanted to come back to. I'm curious because Danica, there's always this kind of we hear when we talk about being more traditional, subscribing to traditional roles. I'm wondering if this was always things that you subscribe to, or you maybe had experiences and you sort of changed your tune later in life, or like have you kind of always thought this way?
I've always, because that was my upbringing, right? My parents, even to this day, are still very traditional. Like my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she would do some stuff on the side to like bring in extra income. But my dad worked like the Monday to Friday, and my mom always cooked and did everything. And I'd even see her sometimes. It'd be like 4:00 in the afternoon. She'd be like putting makeup on, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, your dad's coming home, right?" So she was just always, it was always very traditional, and to make herself look nice for my dad, even though he didn't require it. But it was nice because he would smile when he'd see her, whatever.
How long?
So that was.
How long were they married at that time when she was still putting on the makeup?
Oh, that would have been 20 years ago. So that would have been like 19 years. They've been married for 39 years now, my parents.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they still do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. They're still together. So I was raised with a very healthy parent relationship there. Mm-hmm. And still to this day, it's still very, very healthy. And yeah, they're very happy. 40 years next year. So yeah, I was raised very traditional that way. And so like I mentioned earlier, I was married, and when I was married, he would work out of town for 2 weeks at a time, and he'd be home, and I was still working when he'd be home. But like when I was at home, I would, make the meals. I was doing our laundry. I did the house, you know what I mean? I did all of those traditional things, and yeah. So
100K plus is a lot to walk away from. I mean, if you met a guy and he didn't want you to work, would you ever give that up?
So it would just to be a stay-at-home wife with no children would be a little bit more difficult, because why wouldn't we want more money to be able to live our life and have that double income? But if we were to have children, absolutely, right? Like when I was with my ex-husband, we talked about how I would probably go down to a 0.5, like half of what I was doing, right? Once, and just do that. Like I had no issue with cutting back on my hours. Because when I was younger, my mom was always home, right? We were never in daycare or any of that, or nannies. Like my mom was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's put it in a situation where like 100K would be marginal. I mean, let's say the guy nets a couple of million a year, where like another 100K really isn't going to move the needle much. I mean, I think that's what we're trying to get to. Is there that certain level, or is it, because we've had women on before where they're like, hey, no matter what, I will always work. Work is tied into my identity. And what we've seen, not only in talking to women and having them on guests, we've seen in studies that have come out, is that, being a working mother is really tough on a lot of women, and it's really hard to do 40 plus hours and take care of the home and the house and things like that. So that's what I'm just curious on. Is working more of is it like a means to an end? Is it something that I would never stop working? Or it's like, if it was the right situation and let's say 100K probably isn't going to make much difference, then your focus switch to more homemaking and having children and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it would definitely switch. But yeah, if he just wanted me just to quit, just for no, you know what I mean? Like I can still, because I do it by myself, right? I work and I clean my house and I keep house and I cook and I meal prep. I do all of that daily, and I could, so yeah, it would need to be like if ever you're having children and settling down that way, 100%. I had no issue with it when I was discussing that with my ex.
So that's where 60, 70K wouldn't quite cut it.
I guess so, yeah.
Earlier. Yeah.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Like that would definitely not cut it. That would be a downgrade in lifestyle.
Close, yeah.
Right. When I can imagine that, a man that made 60, 70 wouldn't want me to do that either, because then, right, like the amount of money in the house would significantly drop.
Then you're forced to put the children in daycare, or have somebody like, your parents or his parents or something like that, sort of chime in if they're young enough to take care of small children still.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, this is a very feminine, pro, like blue job, pink job type of panel that we got tonight, Moff. It's interesting because like Danica is willing to abandon her career, her degree, and all that thing, and sort of set it aside. And a lot of women seem to have a problem doing that, because it's like, I don't want to rely on no man, right? Like I've seen how my friends are, and I've seen how relationships go, and it's just not comfortable. It's too risky. I make good money. I'm a strong earner. So why would I give that up? Right. I mean, there's also the other side of the equation too, where there's dudes that end up becoming Mr. Mom. Like, let's say you find the ideal guy, Danica. He's he ticks off all the boxes, but he's a Walmart greeter. He's making 30 grand a year or something like that. But he would be ideal for Mr. Mom. Would you be content popping
No.
out the babies, going back to work, and letting him stay home with the kids?
No.
Why wouldn't that work for you?
Yeah, I don't know, because I find like a woman's role is to nurture, right? And so I should, and like, and a man's role is like, as a provider and a protector. And so for me, it wouldn't align with my personal beliefs for me to be out working with him at home doing the nurturing.
Yeah.
That's why it would be hard for me.
Do any of you get like chirping from family, friends, colleagues, or anybody about like, why do you think that way, girl? Like, why don't you think this way? Like, why would you serve a man or anything like that?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
No, seeing for me, I don't, because like my family, all of my family's that way, right? And like, so they all, they don't see it as like, how you said, like, like serving. It's like, I'm respecting him and his role and what he's providing and what he's giving me, right? Which is that security and all of that, right? Like, that's what my dad gave my mom and what he gave us. So my mom was like, she respected his role as like the man of the house and did what her duties were in the home, right? To do her role.
Australian culture is very like femme-centric. It's like a female first primary social order sort of thing. So you're going to hear it a lot more in Australia, I guess. But the way Danica sort of, describes it is she's not surrounding herself by people like that. And if they show up, it's, I guess, same thing with you, Ange. Like if they show up, you just put some distance, between you and them.
Yeah, I just don't entertain the idea.
It's very unconventional today. I think the vast majority of women don't think that way. I mean,
I think they live in delusion. A lot of women live in delusion.
Why do you think that is?
Because society lies. Like, they like to hear what they want to hear. Because life is too hard. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to cope. Life gets too easy these days. Both for men and women. That's why men get so feminine. They need to get punched a little bit so they know the real pain.
They do need to get punched. They need to learn how to throw hands. Absolutely.
People get offended by words these days. Like, seriously, get over it. Like, it's just words.
Yeah.
For what? Like, if someone called me fat and I'm fat, I'll just take it and go. If I don't like it, then I'll change. Like, it's just not a big deal. It's just words.
All right. Got a question here from Superchat for Mandy. Since you're already selling your body on OF, why don't you get more money by telling your fans lies anyway, that you love them, etc.? Why the moral reservation at this lesser point?
Good question.
I think a lot of the OF creators that we've seen in the past, they'll state that they're single when they're not, because it implies to their audience that there's hope. And I think hope is a powerful tool when it comes to OF. But I mean, you've got a different perspective on it, so I think that's what he's saying.
I mean, yeah, no, I fully understand what he's saying. I just think I've had my small couple fingers of stalking, both on the internet and in person. And I just feel like if you feed into that delusion, it's not, I don't want to say like you're asking for it, because no one asked for that ever, but feeding into that delusion of like someone who's like in love with you and you're like, oh, I love you too. And like they grasped onto that and they like take it and they run with it. So I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with lying too. That's why I'm fully transparent. I say, yeah, I'm talking to someone that's exclusive. I don't make content with them. I make content by myself. Yeah. I'm not going to say I love you because I have no idea who you are, but I'm going to, fulfill that fantasy that you're, being sexual with me. But like,
what's the line in the sand that you have to draw with them? Like, where does it push into a boundary where you're not going to go there? Like say that you love me back sort of thing, or
yeah, I don't say I love you. I don't like agree that I'm their girlfriend. Like I say, like,
So a guy will subscribe to OF and then expect you to state that you're their girlfriend. Is that common?
Yeah. I feel like as soon as they spend any type of money, it could be $1. It could even be them subscribe for free because my shit's free right now. But like, and they'll assume, oh, like, okay, now I can say whatever I want, and like, you need to listen. And like, that's why I also like doing it, because I'm in control of everything.
How did they end up stalking you in real life though? Like, how did they find you?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I was at a store one time, and it was before my account. My account maybe wasn't even that big. I maybe had like a couple hundred subscribers, but I think like, I don't know. I think like people just bump into me. I was at a store and some guy was like watching me, and I was like, I just felt it, and I was like, okay, I need to leave.
You
And
staring
I
you
left.
down like you knew you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, like I need to leave. I felt uncomfortable, so I left. And then I got a message, and they were like, "Were you at this store wearing da 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 da?" And I was like, "Whoa, that was very uncomfortable." And
Do you try
now
to disguise yourself now when you go up, like wear a hat or like wear something different when you go out, or does that not matter?
no,
Okay.
no, I just try to like timing wise, like I don't go out by myself past a certain time and it's like dark out. I try to go with people, even as a woman, not even as a creator, but as
Yeah,
a
for
woman,
safety
it's very
reasons.
dangerous to like go out, and whether you're a creator or not, people are constantly like, I don't know. I feel like even I've been like followed even when people didn't know I was a creator. They were just following me on the street and protected. So,
Is there?
happens.
Do you have any second thoughts sometimes about what you're doing? Because you generally, like, I mean, you can correct me from, like if I'm wrong here, but I think generally speaking, you're not having Chads follow you and contribute to your OnlyFans subscriptions, are mostly lower tier guys,
Chads? What do
socially
you mean
awkward,
Chads?
like Chad Thundercock, like a
Higher level
stud.
guys.
Yeah, like a high
Oh no,
level
yeah,
dude.
I do.
You have high levered, like
Yeah,
good looking, chiseled jaw,
very
high
good.
masculine cues.
I've had some clients
Really?
that are very good looking.
What's the percentage of the good looking guys versus the dorks?
Well, I mean, shit, if we're being honest, it's definitely not over 50. But I mean, I think everyone, that's the thing. Good looking, yes, but like I normally go
Are
after
they good looking,
personality.
socially awkward guys?
No, like
Calibrated, they're well calibrated, like they got game, they sort of play
yeah,
their
I just
swab
like
sort of thing.
to, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever or would ever like talk to I probably have like people that know me like talk to like a subscriber or a client, but usually like I just keep it like that. And then if you want to actually talk to me, you gotta like have my number, Instagram, or meet you in person. Like,
Interesting. You got any questions on that, Moff?
Yeah, I was curious. I was like, if I think one of the things I hear a lot from this space is that it's almost always a means to an end. And some people say, yeah, I'm only doing it to get through school, or I'm doing it so I can save up to buy a house or have investments or something like that. But what they realize is that there's sort of no money, like fast money. And then they realize, like, oh, like I can make what I will make in 2 weeks. I could make that in an hour. I can make that in 2 hours. So like, do you ever, is there a means to an end? Do you have a point where you're like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this away and I'm not going to do OF anymore? And if so, are you worried about backsliding at all and say, oh, well, now I got this boring, pencil pushing job. Like what's the future?
Well, the future right now, I'm saving up to open up my own thrift store / sex store. And also I'm putting money into my younger sister's savings, because I always say, like, if the store doesn't happen, somebody is getting something out of this, and it's not just gonna be me. Like, I grew up very low income, so like I want to be able to like make sure my younger sister doesn't have to struggle with that. And also just like hopefully I have my store in the future, and it's gonna be like thrift store, sex store vibes. So, but as of right now, just saving, working, meeting people, being a troll, getting trolled. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
How does a OnlyFans model troll on streaming platforms? You just call them like bitches when you're playing games, like you're a bitch.
Yeah, you just kind of gotta fight them back, and they like it. Like the comments. I read some of the comments going on, and as much as like people think, oh, she probably hates this. No, I love it. I love it.
Do you generally enjoy playing video games and are good at them?
Oh my God, stop. Yes, I do genuinely enjoy playing them. Am I good? I don't want to say I'm good. I don't want to get cocky with it. I've definitely just started. But I'm getting better, and I definitely do love taking notes from other people. So, come play a game with me. Maybe you'll school me.
We got like 10 minutes left before we usually wrap up at the 90-minute mark. Do you ladies have any questions or anything you're stuck on? Anything you want clarity on? Any help with?
No, not me. I can
Angie?
think of.
No, Mandy?
I don't know how to word this question, but like, so basically, I don't know, I guess it's a question for like everyone, but like after, like, let's say when I stop doing OF, I'm still going to obviously have that still surrounded around me because, you know, social media and Google and
Yeah,
Reddit
the internet
and
never
everything.
forgets.
Yeah. They will never forget anything that I do. And I love it. You know, I won't ever put something out there that, you know, I'm going to want to take down later. But like, I don't know, like, how do I move on from that through like relationships? Because now it's so hard for me to find someone who wants to commit. And after that, I'm gonna have to, it's gonna be have to something I'm gonna speak about where I'm like, yeah, I used to do that. And I don't, but like, you know, there's also, you know, trolls, and I'm probably gonna be streaming for a very long time. It's just something that like fulfills my own personal needs. But I
Leave
don't know.
that for the ladies if they want to chime in on that
Yeah.
first.
I don't know. I guess like for me, I would say that would have been something you should have thought about before you did it, right? Like before you kind of got into that world, because that's like, you know what I mean? Like I do all the modeling, but I make sure it's modeling that is not something I wouldn't want my grandma to look at, right? So it's just that kind of thing, and it's not an image that. But I just believe sex between your partner and stuff, right? Like any sexual act, whether it's solo or not, should be something you share with just your partner, right? And that so like when he sees you, like you're giving something that he wants to everybody else, so that you keep it's not just for him.
Well,
Right.
that's the thing. I don't really see it as like I give that to everybody else because it's virtual. No one's ever met up with me. I don't meet up with subscribers, you know, like you know, I do a very limited set of stuff of like full send content. So I don't know how I'm gonna be able to
Well, I guess
deal
they're
with
just seeing your body in a way that, you know what I mean? It's like that's should be for his eyes only, right? Because a lot of men will kind of see it that way, right? Like you just lose. I don't know. I guess in someone you can, because I've talked to men about this because I knew a girl that did OnlyFans and we did like a shoot and stuff, a different thing. And we were at a party and someone just kind of brought up the fact that she did OnlyFans, and there was a guy there all night that had no idea that she did. And as soon as it happened, you saw his face kind of change. And then we just asked him, and he said, like, as soon as he heard that, like, he lost the respect for her. Right. It was just like an instant kind of a loss of respect. So that might be something you face, which is hard.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mean
think
that
it
in any
depends, like, what
disrespectful way.
kind of
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
I think it depends what kind of man you're looking for. Like, if you, for example, if you want high caliber men, it's very hard because the thing is, they would have friends and their friends would have seen you naked, and it's just not a good look, and it's embarrassing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they would just not take you seriously for sure. So, like, there are caliber of men who will take it, but you would have to take what comes with it. Like, they'll be feminine, they'll be, you know, not as masculine. They would probably not very successful. If you're happy with that, you will be able to find men like that. So you just have to manage your expectation of what kind of men you're looking for and what you want to attract and what you can get.
Right.
Be realistic with that.
Okay. I always thought about, you know, like being a single mom if nothing works out, but then we had that talk about how single mothers maybe don't do as good of a job.
Don't do that.
But I mean, I also think that has something to do with like therapy. Like at least my parents grew up in a generation where like therapy was looked down upon. I feel like maybe that's just something.
I mean, look, as far as therapy goes, you're better off rather than spending hundreds of dollars on a therapist, like just watching my YouTube channel for free, or going out and doing 7 grams of mushrooms and going on a full-on heroes trip, and you'll fix yourself up real fast with stuff like that. Moff, you got any advice for her on the question?
I was hoping it would come to me. It's going to be difficult. I mean, we don't want to sugarcoat it. It's going to come up. There's going to be guys that are going to have issues with it. I think Angie brings up a good point where, you know, guys are very particular and they want their woman to be their woman and only for them. And I think, you know, there's a reason why you don't see, and I don't mean to draw such a direct correlation and parallel here, but there's a reason why porn star relationships almost never work out unless they date other porn stars or they marry other porn stars, because they're just in that life. And so, you know, the first time maybe you're dating a guy, you get a text message from a buddy. He's like, hey, here's your, you know, wife on OnlyFans doing XYZ, showing XYZ, ABC. And so you've got a good opportunity now to try to prepare yourself for those conversations, and you have full control over anything else that you continue to do content wise. And so I think you just got to prepare yourself for some potentially very difficult conversations, and for some guys to have a visceral reaction towards it. I think men are hardwired to look down upon and be sort of turned off by any promiscuity or things that could be construed as promiscuity, even though there's some nuance essentially to your content. It's you're not doing it with other people and things like that. But to Danica's point, you're sort of sharing something with the world that a man expects his woman to only share with him. So I don't have the perfect answer for you. I think just prepare yourself for there's going to be guys that's just going to be a deal breaker for you. I think realistic, practical advice is when you're done, try to bury it as much as you possibly can. And if you can lie, essentially, like if you can, because I just think there's just I just don't think being upfront and honest about it is going to do you any favors. I think that in a perfect world, we can all do things everything that we want, and we don't ever have any repercussions, or we don't ever have to answer for them. But we unfortunately don't live in that world. So if you're strictly looking to self-preserve, you've got to do what you've got to do. It's not an easy conversation, and there's certainly no easy answer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Clarifying question for you. What percentage of guys disqualify you for doing OnlyFans right now?
Maybe like 40%.
40%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to do a quick poll here in the live chat. So would you rather an OnlyFans model with a notch count of 2 or a non-OnlyFans gal with a notch count of 40? We'll just use something like that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go gal, OF gal, 2, non-OF, 40. All right, you guys take this poll in a live chat. I have a feeling I already know what the answer is going to be. So here's the advice that I have. I mean, if 40% of guys are disqualifying you right now, that's what I thought would happen anyway, because there's always going to be a contingent of men that'll be like, whatever, I'll just look past that, right? Like there's legit guys that'll be like, you can't judge a girl for her past. It doesn't matter if she slept with 100 guys and shared her body with all of them, or a basketball team, ran a trainer. Like they'll legit look past all. Oh yeah, there's dorks out there that'll look past some of the weirdest lifestyle choices just because they don't have better options. But that's going to leave you with like the lower percentile of men, like as far as quality men go, sort of thing. So I mean, a lot of stuff you've heard here already is like shit that you already know. It's kind of like you're trading off. Sure, the lifestyle pays well, you make good money, but you're going to be disqualified by some guys, and the ones that remain around that are okay with it, you may not have a genuine attraction to. Like you may not lust after them. They might just be average or not be your speed, sort of thing. So you can't really, I mean, can you make shit disappear? Yeah. I mean, people disappear all the time from, the public space. There's ways to do that, but that's going to require quite a bit of work, to bury that past and hide it. So, I mean, you can either be honest about it or you can try to hide it. What are we trending on, with the poll over here?
Okay.
So we've got, okay. So men are disgusted by promiscuity over a girl that shares photographs online, but has only been with 2 guys. So shared your body with 2 guys versus shared your body with 40 guys. They'd rather deal with an OnlyFans girl with a notch count of 2. So don't sleep around.
Noted.
There you go.
But then, how would you know that she sleeps with 2 people? Like she could just lie. Whereas OnlyFans is facts, like action. It's there, like 100% no lying.
Yeah, I think the average Joe probably isn't good at establishing a woman's sexual history. I'm not the average Joe. I can figure it out very, very quickly by asking just a few questions. But you're right. Like they could be deceived easily, but keeping the content just photographs only and not having a sexually promiscuous history is probably the best way to go if you're already doing it. That's what the stats, or that's what the poll says anyway. Cool. Ladies, it's been a slice. Thank you for joining us tonight. Enlightening conversation. I hope you guys got some value out of it. I'm sure there's some disagreements as well too, but you know, as we do these, that's how it goes. So, you know, you're all welcome back in the future. If there's anything that pops up or you see something online you want to talk about or table, bring it. You know, we're happy to have you on again. So any closing thoughts, Moff, before we wrap up? You got a show tomorrow. You're doing it on Dinks, actually. Double income, no Dinks.
Yeah.
Double
Tomorrow,
income, no kids.
Yeah, tomorrow's the Dink Show. Same time, same place. Thursday, tomorrow, 8 o'clock here on the Unplugged Alpha channel.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have an awesome night. Thanks for joining us. Peace out.